It all started innocently enough. A seemingly ordinary Saturday morning at the local gourmet grocery. Brenda, our protagonist, a woman whose perfectly coiffed blonde hair belied a simmering volcano of barely contained frustration, was selecting a birthday cake for little Tiffany's party. The selection was overwhelming, each cake a miniature masterpiece of frosting and fondant. But Brenda had a vision, a very specific vision, and nothing less would do. She'd already spent the better part of the morning meticulously planning every detail of Tiffany's unicorn-themed extravaganza, and this cake, this crucial element, was threatening to derail the entire operation. The pressure was mounting, the sugary scent of impending doom thick in the air. This wasn't just about a cake, it was about Brenda's meticulously crafted image of perfection. The cake, a majestic unicorn sculpted from layers of vanilla sponge, was imperfect. A single rogue sprinkle had landed precariously on the unicorn's horn, a tiny blemish on an otherwise flawless masterpiece. This, in Brenda's eyes, was an unforgivable transgression. It was a symbol of all the things that could go wrong, a harbinger of chaos threatening her perfectly orchestrated party. The carefully planned color scheme, the pristine invitations, the perfectly matched napkins, all of it threatened by this single rogue sprinkle. Her vision of a perfect party, a perfect day, a perfect image of herself as the perfect mother was crumbling before her very eyes. And someone, she decided, was going to pay. Brenda, fueled by a potent cocktail of caffeine and righteous indignation, approached the nearest employee, a young woman whose name tag read Sarah. Sarah, bless her heart, was already struggling to keep up with the Saturday morning rush. The air hung heavy with the scent of freshly baked bread and impending doom. Brenda, oblivious to Sarah's plight, launched into a detailed and increasingly agitated account of the cake's inadequacy. Each word, sharp as a shard of glass, pierced the already tense atmosphere. Sarah, initially attempting politeness, found herself drowning in a tsunami of complaints. This was not just a cake, it was a symbol of Brenda's control, and that control was being threatened. The conversation, if you could call it that, escalated rapidly. Brenda's voice rose in volume, her words becoming increasingly shrill. Sarah, overwhelmed by the torrent of complaints, attempted to offer a solution, a replacement cake perhaps, but Brenda was beyond reason. This wasn't about a replacement. This was about principle, about the blatant disregard for her exacting standards. The store manager, alerted by the rising decibels, approached cautiously, bracing himself for the inevitable explosion. The store manager, a seasoned veteran of countless Karen encounters, attempted damage control. He offered apologies, discounts, even a free batch of cookies. But Brenda, fueled by adrenaline and a deep-seated need for validation, remained unmoved. Her fury, a raging inferno, consumed the bakery aisle. This was no longer about a cake. It was a battle for dominance, a clash of wills that would determine the fate of both Brenda's meticulously planned party and the poor, unsuspecting bakery staff. The manager's attempts at appeasement were met with a deafening roar of indignation. The situation spiraled into utter chaos. Other shoppers watched, mouths agape, as Brenda unleashed a torrent of vitriol upon the unfortunate Sarah and the increasingly bewildered manager. The air crackled with tension, the silence punctuated only by Brenda's escalating tirade. The aroma of freshly baked goods was now overshadowed by the pungent smell of impending conflict. It was a spectacle, a modern-day tragedy unfolding before a captivated audience. Having exhausted her verbal arsenal, Brenda unleashed her ultimate weapon, the phone. She dialed, a furious clicking sound echoing in the stunned silence. This was not simply a complaint. This was a call to arms, a summoning of the higher powers that be to rectify this egregious injustice. She would make sure the entire corporate hierarchy was aware of this unforgivable offense against her and little Tiffany's birthday. The manager, his face a mask of defeat, braced himself for the inevitable deluge of complaints to follow. With a final, triumphant glare, Brenda stormed out of the store, leaving a trail of scattered sprinkles and a bewildered staff in her wake. The battle was won, or so she believed. The victory, however, felt hollow. The perfect party would go on, but the taste of it would forever be tainted by the bitter residue of conflict. The store gradually regained its composure. Sarah, shaken but unbowed, continued her work, while the manager sighed, rubbing his temples. Another day, another Karen. But for Brenda, the fight was far from over. The image of that slightly askew sprinkle would forever haunt her, a constant reminder of the battle she had fought and the victory she couldn't quite savor. The unicorn cake, still bearing its rogue sprinkle, sat forlornly on the counter, a silent testament to the chaos it had unleashed. A symbol of a perfectly imperfect day, a reminder that even the most meticulous plans can be derailed by a single, seemingly insignificant detail, and a woman's relentless pursuit of an unattainable ideal. The cake, much like Brenda's carefully constructed world, was ultimately, irrevocably flawed.